Welcome to Off Market, a look at the Perth property market from the people who are working in the trenches. Join me, Shane Beaumont, Ross Hunter, and a special guest each fortnight as we dissect the latest property news and break down what's really happening in the different pockets of Perth. If you'd rather watch, you can find us on our Facebook page at Crib Creative Perth. Enjoy. Welcome to Off Market, where each fortnight we are chewing the fat about the Perth property market, what's hot, what's not, and what's confusing people about property in Perth. Ross, Shane, welcome back.
We're back.
We've made it to episode 4. What have you learnt so far?
That we look good on camera.
Fridays. That's just how quickly the week flies.
Yeah.
I know, 8 weeks. Unbelievable.
And the pressure you put on us to come up with all this great
Hard-hitting journalism.
Yeah, bang, bang, bang all the time. But we deliver, mate, don't we?
We
try.
All right, it's your turn again.
My turn.
Under the hammer, every week. Quick pulse check on the market. What have you been seeing?
Unbelievable results. And in particular, a couple of areas that aren't necessarily traditionally in the auction world, which I think is important to report on this week. Cash was here the other week and it's not necessarily in the auction world. Great auction in Lathlane on the weekend, which got a fantastic result. 4 bidders, big crowd, so that area, you know, people say auctions aren't here, but well and truly great result. And we had another one for Hughes' office in Manning for Paul Delanzo. And Manning's not necessarily probably a great auction precinct. Once again, good product, well-managed auction campaign, sold under the hammer. So, you know, great.
Is that a unique sort of property?
Not really. The one that Paul was selling was a brand new townhouse.
Yeah.
You know, nice product, well built. But, you know...
the process.
Just the process. And the one in Lathlane was probably 1940s, 1950s home, but it was more of a building block, if anything. So... you know, they're both very different products that attracted a very different crowd. And the other one is, and we've seen auctions that haven't sold, the results have come very close to the auction. So, fantastic.
Do you talk to many other auctioneers around Perth? I know Kim Finlay, obviously, he's an auction agent who sells in that area.
Yeah.
Have you heard from anyone about?
It's a good question, Jess, because it's something that I think in Perth is actually missing in the auction arena is some sort of auctioneer's form of communication to report results every week and maybe to get together on a reasonably regular basis, once a quarter, what's happening and so forth. It's really quite disenfranchised. I personally, for the auctioneers that do see this, I'd love to get together and even every week we report our results to a central point. I'd be happy to collate that information and put it out to the social media, give it to the West and, you know, get it out there, what's going on, because what's missing is that collective that people aren't seeing what's going on. It's auctions I might do or Kim does or Tom Ezzy does, and it's just very siloed. And I think it'd be fantastic to get together.
All right, that's a good project.
You also see, like, even you get the reports that come, I think Josh Fegan sends out the weekly reports. WA's the only one missing.
Yeah. That'd be even better just to have the sales agents as well, for that to flow down, not just the auctioneers, but the sales agents who are very pro-auction, to be able to get together and go over, you know, the bits and pieces that they have week to week.
I'd be really happy to put my time into that. And Sean used to do a lot of auctions.
There you go. All right, well, that's a new project for you all.
Used to.
2020 goals, number 1.
Pardon?
2020 goals, number 1.
If you invite me this week to a Facebook page saying auctioneers are us or something.
All right.
Group.
Yeah. I will. That's it, done.
All right, straight into Real Press.
Yep.
Ending on a good note there. Now, this is where we take a look at a property story that we have seen in the media and we decipher what it might mean for you guys. So this week we've got a couple of things to cover off. The first that I wanted to touch on was something you mentioned, Shane, last week. It was an article in the Fin Review about rental prices and the different places in the country where it's actually cheaper to buy than rent. Now, the article said, according to data from CoreLogic, in 37.8% of Perth housing markets, the rents are higher than the average cost of a mortgage. In Sydney,
it's about 3%, I think.
Yeah, 3%.
Which is, I think, and that's why I say, when you hear on the radio, they're sort of trying to beat the drum that agents have always got their hand out of the property industry. but we're actually telling the truth to say in many circumstances across Perth, and I personally think it'd probably be higher than that. So if you are a rep in a certain area, we'd love to get your feedback if that's the case in your suburb, because buyers should be aware that they will be getting a tap on the shoulder sooner or later that the rents are going up. So with interest rates obviously being so low, it is a really good opportunity. You know? In Sydney, they don't have the luxury of that, I can assure you.
No, absolutely not. So. And I'll just clarify that by saying in the article it said that was based on a 20% deposit and 4.35% variable rate, which is pretty standard. So, okay. Beautiful. Second article, quickly, is some news coming out of Coburn. Roscoe, you sent this one through regarding the Coburn Bridge, which broke ground. They broke ground this week, I believe. And the wave park. So I wanted to talk about good news for local real estate.
Look, I think it's great news not only for real estate, but also great news economically. You know, these sort of infrastructural projects are really, really important for the general economy, for employment and confidence. You know, like the Coburn Bridge thing is, I think it's a $200 million project. So it's a great one. It obviously opens up that whole corridor. As Shane was saying before, it's sort of, in those areas, it allows people to get access to the city quicker than some people who live close to the city, because it just gets you straight on the freeway, straight onto the train lines and so forth. And that's what we need, you know. So in those areas that have maybe suffered through the downturn, this sort of it just opens them up and gives that confidence that people say, yeah, okay, this thing's going on. And with Metronet coming on, it sort of, it's all obviously links into that whole Metronet thing as well.
Just makes sense when you're tapping into infrastructure that's there.
Yeah.
The urban sprawl is great if it's not having to be, I guess, manufactured, everything starting again. But to tap on that freeway, and as I was saying, like my sister, sometimes to get to the city, and I'm a lot closer, she'll get there before me because she's bang on, straight there.
Yeah.
It's free run. People can get the train stations along there now. Just makes sense.
How quickly can people who live in that area expect, like, is that going to have a direct...
by the end of 2021.
But will that have a direct effect on property prices, do you think? Will they see those?
I think so. I mean, Kalia, I think it's Kalia Estate, which is just sort of where the old Banjo, that's been fantastic. Like, that was hot because people were like, a new home, easy access, still, I don't know, probably 25 k's from the city or something. But they felt they had the convenience to get on there. So that estate, so even I sold a couple of display homes there, and they were like frothing over it. It was just like, when can I get in there?
Yeah,
because they didn't want to wait for them to build.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty good, and not many display homes have had that sort of frenzy over Perth. So I think it will directly impact, without a doubt, having it easy access. Yeah.
And what about this wave park? They've moved it, Alfred Cove, scrapped, moving it down.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. It's despite what Lana thinks. I think it's fantastic.
She's got legs tied to North Perth.
It's all about hidden agenda. Hidden agenda. So no, I think it's fantastic because I think having something like that on the water for, I guess, blue chip suburbs, to me, didn't make a huge amount of sense. Please don't send hate mail, but I'm just saying I didn't think it made a lot of sense. But having it out there where people can tap into it, it's got access to the train lines, schools, all those sorts of things, people are going to make it a bit like, I guess, having Adventure World in the city probably wouldn't make much sense.
Yeah.
So I think having an attraction out there is fantastic.
Yeah, look, I think so. I think, you read the article and it talks a lot about tourism. People travel for those type of things. The people building or potentially build, if it comes out of the ground, are the guys that are just about to open the one in Tullamarine in Victoria, which has been road tested for about the last 3 or 4 months. I think that comes on stream the next week or two. And it has, I think, 11 different surf breaks happening at once. I'm talking like a bit of a dude here, aren't I? I think across live to our resident, all but surfing pro, the barrel rider himself, the tube meister, Mr. Sean Hughes.
Do you surf,
Sean,
I used to be state and scholastic champ back in the day.
Did ya?
Yeah.
Oh,
so I used to surf a lot, and then real estate came along.
Sean, from a surfing point of view, would you use something? I mean, you're obviously a great
absolutely
surfer.
Guaranteed. I think they're fantastic. They've moved on from the wave pools, which were more sort of a stationary wave, into actual surf spots, and so I think you'll see a lot more of that. You look at Western Australia, we've got so much land, it's so big and sparse. For us to not have one, I think it'd be a crime. So we've got so many great surfers. We've had people like Taj before. Jack Robinson this week, West Australian guy, one in Hawaii. So there's a lot of surfers here. We've got big issues with sharks in Western Australia at the moment. So you've got safety, you've got the space, it's affordable out there. And I think having a distance isn't too bad. Like surfers are tuned up with having to drive to
It's better
remote
than
spots
driving to
and
the
spend
right.
4 hours for the wind to be wrong and the waves to be no good and turn around and come home. So to be able to get guaranteed surf, I think, and a little bit of distance for that, it's not going to be an issue.
Yeah.
So tourism, fantastic. You know,
And once again, great infrastructure.
Yeah.
Money's invested.
great investment.
It just makes the world go round.
Interesting to see what the people that way think. That live around it, because obviously there was a big uproar where it was going in the city there. So it'd be interesting to see what the locals think. I would have thought they'd love it.
Yeah, I would have thought a different response.
Might
Sean,
be
do
the
you
first the first surf shop that's out east.
Not the first. Not the first. Sean, do you want to come on down?
Sure.
Come on down. So from the south to the north, we have today's guest is an expert in the northern beaches. You've lived and sold and surfed now in that coastal strip with your mum for your whole life.
Yes.
Sean Hughes, director and licensee of Real Mark Coastal. Welcome
Thanks
to
for having
Off
us.
Market. So, tell us about your market. Straight into it.
How much time you got, fella?
We were going to focus on, I guess, Trig, but you guys sell in that whole northern strip. So whether or not you want to kind of tell us where the hotspots are amongst there or you know, what's going well, what's not.
Yeah, certainly. We're specialised in the coastal belt, if you will, in a bit of a price point, Mum and I, and then all of the sales guys are in and around off that. So there's been pockets within pockets that have been quite good at the moment. Certainly the top end of the market seems to be going relatively good. You know, Roscoe'd like to be calling more auctions for us, but the guys that are running processes, they seem to be days on market are quite reasonable. There seems to be good buyer activity. You know, for a suburb like Trig, there's only 860 odd homes, and so it's surrounded by great infrastructure. You've got the Karrinyup Shopping Centre that's all brand new and underway at the moment, which is good. You've got the Scarborough Foreshore that's undergone a great redevelopment, and then you've got good schools off the back of that as well. So aside from the lifestyle aspect of just being coastal, you have got a lot of other good things off the back of it that are changing, and that sees a lot of demand for those areas. So there isn't a great deal of turnover, and there is a good buyer pool of people waiting to get into them. And then we have a whole heap of people who are further north in, say, Hillary's, etc., and Sorrento, who are looking to get further south because of the travel time. So it's amazing how many parents that we have come through who the wife is just sick of travel time to school, because it's not just the drop off and the pickup, it's everything else that goes in between that as well. So sometimes they're doing 4 or 5 trips to the school per day.
What are your key schools coming up a lot when we're chatting about the suburbs? What are the kind of key schools around there that people are?
St Mary's, Hale, you know, you've got Corrine from public school point of view, you've got St Mark's and you've got Sacred Heart, which are a little bit further north. But for, say, specific to Trig, you'd see a lot of those students would go to Hale and St Mary's.
Yeah. And how much have you seen, you've spoken about, obviously, Scarborough Foreshore, Karrinyup's going up. That pocket was already you know, a highly regarded pocket of Perth. Did projects like that increase value again? Do they, you know, how does that affect this kind of market?
I think that they will in this market, definitely. It'll take some time in order to have a flow-on effect for all of that. But yeah, I would have thought Karrinyup as a suburb at the moment will see some direct benefit. You know, the plans for the shopping centre are absolutely amazing. Yeah. And you know, Roscoe and I were only talking about it the other day in regards to that their shopping centres now will be more of a destination. So in entertainment, you know, people will actually say, I'm going to go to the shops for the day. And they'll go and have a drink at the bar, they'll watch a movie, they'll do some shopping, and it'll actually be an experience. Whereas you see a lot of the UK sort of stuff is all small little boutiques that do so much deliveries online, as opposed to here, you know, you'd be more like a Gold Coast. You've got the pack fair at the Gold Coast where you can literally go out and hang out for the whole day, and it's an experience. So Karrinyup will be the first one like that, I think, which will be great.
Yeah.
Last week we spoke about, I guess, development happening through Subi with Nikki. There's been a bit on Flora Terrace, and has it been well embraced, the high density, or?
It hasn't. Yeah, I think for that particular pocket on Flora Terrace, it's a bit of a pseudo-commercial pocket. You know, that whole coastal belt doesn't really have a great deal of commercial. So where we are now in Osborne Park's probably the closest. So in those areas, I think it's quite handy, and it's more well received because you've got the cafes and the restaurants, and you've got the bit of the shopping centre scenario, the shopping malls. But when you go and plonk a big apartment of 20 or 30 apartments right smack bang in a residential area, there'd definitely been a fair bit of blowback off that. You know, there's pockets in, say, Duncraig, for instance, at the back end of Duncraig, where they've done a fair bit of development in there, high-res stuff, and you've got, you know, in cul-de-sac streets where there's not a great deal of parking as it is, all of a sudden you've got 20 apartments that go in there. So you've got 40 cars plus that all have to park there. Not all of them have 2-car bays, and then you've got 20 bins on the street additional. And, you know, so I think they'd really need to be careful of the planning in regards to the congestion, and that's what residents seem to kick up about.
Well, you look at Yellow Cafe and kind of, like, that's the kick up around the parking. Sorry, is that a
most controversial cafe on the planet?
Sorry.
Mainly so because there are some really well-heeled, well-connected residents in there who are very against it.
Yeah,
very against it.
Yes.
I think, as Sean said, though, Jess, the whole thing's got to be managed well. And I think if you jump over the other side of the river and you go across to Applecross, Mount Pleasant, what they're doing there, you know,
you can see them,
like there's 4 or 5 that I can think of, and you know, they're probably 25, 30 levels and more, and you just question how that's going to impact on congestion and so forth. And they're all literally across the road from each other.
Yeah.
And you just question how well it's been managed. And then you go back into Applecross, Mount Pleasant. They've got all these 3, 4, 5 level type things, which is happening in the Netherlands at the moment, which, you know, one of our ladies got sort of in the crossfire of some controversy around that. You know, so good on you, Lana. Good on you, love.
Classic.
But, and hopefully they learn from all these, and the coastal strip in particular is very precious.
Yeah,
well, they do, but those types of areas do have lots of very vocal, I said it again, residents who have been there for a long time, have a certain expectation of a quiet street and and places like Yellow Cafe or North Street Deli in Swanbourne, they attract a crowd, and all of a sudden the local residents there. They're, you know, they've got cars parked on their verge.
The dogs
and
complaining about the
the dogs are pooing on the lawn, and you know, like it's
crazy
progress versus
exactly. And there's always going to be change. It's how they handle that. You
Yeah.
know, I think about even say for Scarborough, you look at the Three Oceans site and what they were going to do there. It looked like a Dubai thing. It was amazing, and then they had so much. Government give back that they were giving. They had the 400 car bays, they had the art museum right at the top, they had the bridge that connected over Scarborough Beach Road there on West Coast Highway, all of those things that gave to the community off the back of them being able to build that, and unfortunately that's been knocked at the moment. There were a lot of debate at that time from residents on Save Our Sunset came out again, and you know, it just is progress. And you look at something like that, which I think would be really futuristic and fantastic for Perth, for tourism, and everyone comes in and goes, wow, puts us on the map. Yeah. And now what you'll probably end up with is just a block of shitty looking apartments that, you know, I just think what a shame.
Yeah. Beautiful. Good discussion, guys. Thank you.
That's what we do, Jess.
I know. That's why we pay the big bucks.
Yeah. The big bucks.
Roscoe?
Yes.
It's your turn.
Hughesy, we have some really important questions for you.
Wow.
Okay. Now, I haven't known this guy long.
I know.
Okay. Oh, I like the first one, Jess. Hughesy,
Yep.
we have 6 really important questions to ask you.
Oh,
You have to be honest.
Right.
Okay. We chucked him under the bus last week. That felt good.
Can we ask what happened last week? What was the actual...
Here we go.
Well, I can't remember. It was something about his fiancée putting their own rental
I drove
property
past
on.
the place and she was putting the sign in.
Showed showing there was 12 people on it.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Apparently she's quite a good salesperson. You should learn from her.
She's leased it now, so
Yeah, good.
Good.
Okay, first question. Sean, the old saying is we learn from our mistakes. Mm-hmm. What would you consider to be your biggest stuff up that you've learned from?
Wow. When I was much younger, I was doing a final inspection, and I've got the buyer in the cellar there, and I'm dressed up in my suit that didn't fit me, and I had my duck tie on. I thought I was killing it, and I'm out the back, and the guy asked me if there was solar panels on the roof or not, and I've sort of stepped back to have a bit of a look because I didn't know, and I fell in the pool at the final inspection.
And the learning from that is?
Have a spare set of clothes in the car.
Exactly. Okay, number 2. What are 3 things you won't leave home without?
Oh, the moneymaker for starters, the phone.
The phone.
Never.
Never.
I'm naked without that.
Yeah.
A pocket square. I never leave home without a pocket square.
Yeah, you're a bit of home for the pocket square, aren't you?
I don't mind that.
Until I roll up with mine, which is a little bit more glam. Yeah.
Third one. Wow, I don't know. Oh, a pen. I'll always have a pen on me. Yep.
Do you ever consider wearing a cravat?
Matt? I think it'd suit him.
It would. Well,
Yeah,
you'd have matching.
Yeah. Now, Sean, I asked this question, but I ask it with some sort of hesitation because it probably doesn't apply. But what would be your worst habit? You've only got good habits, I assume, but what would be your worst one?
Work-related.
Or do we need to bring Sarah in for this one?
Probably maybe just deplugging, I would say, definitely. It's really hard to properly unplug and just completely take my mind off things when I'm away and overseas and I don't have the phone on me and stuff like that. That's the best time for me to be able to actually properly do that.
Yeah.
But being on the go all the time, even when you sleep, I can wake up in the morning and I feel like I've been at the office for 4 hours or 5 hours, you know. So that's probably the big one, I would say.
Cool.
The partners suffer a bit. But...
Partners do, yeah, definitely. Yeah, not being able to
Not
switch
just
off.
because
No. I reckon that's a big thing. They do definitely, and not being present for them is a big thing as well. If your mind's always on the go, you're always thinking about that person that you got to call and that thing that you got to do, etc. Definitely having like a recordable dictaphone is quite good for me. I find if I get it out of my head, then my head's not racing as much.
Yeah.
So, but certainly for other partners, it's hard when you're playing second fiddle a lot of the time to work.
Yeah. When you go to a restaurant with Sarah and you're having a meal, where's your phone?
Yeah, definitely on the table still. I haven't learnt. No.
Mate.
I know.
Rule from an old fella. Ditch
Yeah.
the phone at restaurants. Okay, when you're not at work, where are you most likely to be? Where would we find you?
The golf club beating your scores all the time.
Oh my God, what a liar.
No, if I'm not there, I'll be anything on the water, coastal stuff. So surfing and I don't mind playing golf a little bit. But
Sean, have you ever played 18 holes or nine's about your capacity? Isn't it?
nine's my capacity.
Yeah.
Well, when you're a busy person, I know you're semi-retired and you got lots of time on your hands, so you can play 18 holes all the time.
So, mate, you remember carrying up, as he says, the country club. Sean, you would have probably the most expensive rate per hole on the planet with your fees and the little you play there.
And the lack thereof.
The lack thereof. I mean, you are a busy guy and it's hard to unplug. I mean, you've got your boat and stuff. That must be a really good decompression chamber for you.
Yeah. Yep, definitely. I think there's a peacefulness about just being on the water. I think sometimes, even if I'm working, if I'm doing calls off the back of the boat or something like that, it's a good spot to do it, but it just feels more relaxing for me. So
Surely there's a more juicy habit than that, though.
Hey?
Surely there's a better habit than that, though. Bad habit.
So, hear that laugh? That means yes, but he's not going to tell you, Alana.
He's been media trained.
Yeah. He's too good for that. Okay, Sean, we hear sayings, some we like, some we don't. People use some sayings ad nauseum that drive us mad. What's the most overused saying out there that does your head in?
Oh, the latest one I've been hearing is adapt or die.
Adapt or die.
Yeah, I've been overhearing that a lot at the moment. Just maybe a message getting in there at all. But I think a lot of people do know that they just, you just got to move with the times. You got to change. You got to reinvent yourself all the time. So that's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Adapt or die.
I guess
There goes the next subject.
What are you listening to? I haven't heard this one.
If they think they have to adapt, that means they're dead.
What's the one you say? Too much.
What do I say too much?
Sweet.
Yeah, I don't mind saying sweet.
It's sweet.
Frothing I use. When I heard you say frothing before, I used that a bit.
Yeah.
Frothing.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with the froth.
Last question, mate. And Shane and I actually think, Jess took this out of the questions, but we've taken our diva control, put it back in. We think this is the most
You
important
just rave
question.
on. This
Oh.
is the problem.
This man wears a cravat. He can answer this question.
In fact, if he had the cravat on, he could answer this question well. Sean, where is the best meal in Perth? Best restaurant, best meal?
Oh, I took some of my guys to Bricker the other night. So we took them out to the Elton John concert and we went and ate at Bricker before. It was absolutely
That's in
packed.
your hood.
Lamb.
Wow, it was really good. I think the owner is Danny Pasaris' son, Simon.
Oh, okay.
Owns it.
Yeah.
And the food was unbelievable. Service was really good, but they were packed. So
Go-to? What's the go-to?
locally,
What's the actual go-to meal there?
Oh, the lamb.
The lamb shoulder.
Oh,
I've
the
heard
lamb
that.
shoulder. Really
And locally, what's your best?
good. Clark's restaurant, if you like fine dining. The chef there used to cook for the Queen, so that's sort of intimate fine dining. But if you want just a quick, easy meal, like if I'm running home late from work and Sarah hasn't cooked or something like that,
At 5,
canteen, it's
about
pretty good.
5-ish.
At about 5, yeah. Leave the office at 4. First dinner at home at 5.
He's bulking
home
up.
for second dinner.
He's getting ready for competition.
Good answers.
Oh my God. Are you done?
I'm done.
Oh, beautiful. Well done.
Yeah, good. So do you, mate.
Yeah, well done.
Yeah, good.
All right, guys, final segment, play of the week. You were our play of the week last week, Sean. Well,
Yeah. We
your
like.
fiance was. Anyone got a play of the week to share?
I think Shane's got a couple he'd love to talk about.
No, I actually went to the Rewa cocktail party last night, and I got on a bus. I don't know how I ended up on a bus, but I don't know what company it was, but they dance. That's
Do
what
they
I got.
dance
Play of the
well? Or
They just dance lots.
they dance?
Were they very
lots?
aerobic, Shane? Like,
Look, it was all a blur, but
were there any poles on the bus?
there was a pole on the
There's a
bus,
pole, right?
several poles on the bus.
Several
Oh,
poles.
so there's a pole in this
It's actually the
dancing.
only bus I've ever been on that we went soldier. I was like, I'm looking at the other side of the bus. You know what I mean? Like, normally getting a bus just like that way. But,
It's a party bus.
well,
Yeah.
it's been
Too
a long
old
time
for
since I was on a party bus. But,
These
yeah,
Rewa
that's
cocktail
really good.
parties, I tell you what,
And the other
they
one, I think,
create some stories.
I think on the driving south, the Coburn Council talking
Oh,
about
yes.
who the sign, what they want it to go up to replace the creepy
that
faces.
those creepy
I'd
faces.
love to get some feedback from what people think should be on there.
You know what those faces were, though, don't you?
We nominated
Yeah, where
Tony
were they?
Gallardi's face.
They weren't real people. Those faces
was a
were,
combo.
were a montage of a whole heap of photos of people that
no wonder they
lived in
created
the
it.
area, and they
Yeah.
created these faces from all these photos of people.
They
in the area.
did say we thought it was a great idea, and then the execution we haven't had great feedback over the years because they are weird.
Took them a
strange.
while
So
to
you
get them down
thinking
like
you
that
get your
10
face up
years.
there?
Oh, yeah,
Is that
yeah.
what you're thinking?
We nominated Shane and Tony Gallardi.
Yeah.
I've got bigger eyebrows than Tony.
All right. Oh, crikey.
Come on, Jess, move on. The buzzer's
Sorry,
going.
yes. Last play of the week wanted to nominate Olivia Porteous. Everyone saw in the paper a couple of weeks ago. She sold a property in Peppermint Grove off market before it hit the market for over 9 mil.
Wow.
So not
Sensational
a bad effort.
property.
I'd say that's a sensational.
You guys did the
property,
video for that,
sensational.
is that right?
We did do the video for that.
Yes.
In fact, if you look at some statistics, there are quite a number of sales that have been going on around there in that sort of territory lately.
Yeah, right.
And Roscoe, do you
8-9.
reckon that that's a sign of the market on the way, on the change?
Mate, I do. Look, we mentioned last week, or the other week, Sean, that like Peppermint Grove's gone from a medium average price this year from 3.4 to 4 million. And a lot of those sort of sales. So, the economy start from the top.
Yep.
A lot of confidence there, a lot of, like this, I know of probably half a dozen transactions that have taken place in the last sort of few weeks or last month of 8, 9, 10, 12, 13 million.
Yep.
I see the blocks.
Smart money.
Yeah, you see the blocks coming back on from the Taj.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The guy's building his,
Yeah.
and then he's selling the two front ones.
I've got some confidence.
And they'll be probably 6,000 a square metre.
Right.
And they'll go pretty quick.
So maybe that dovetails in with you know how we were saying the other day in regards to the mining, like Karratha and all that, starting to go through a bit of a boom, and they've been having, real vacancies in rents, prices increasing, hard to get stuff. So from the outside in, and then obviously internally the top end of the market starting to move, it might be all
Mate,
on
if
the
you look at all
change.
the dots, you look at all those dots, you look at what Shane was saying about affordability at the other end of the market, where it's cheaper to buy in a lot of areas than it is to rent the same property. You see some of the results that you've been seeing off market, and all these things. You start to look at it across the board.
It's much of a positive.
Mate, I know I'm an eternal optimist, but I've got to say I'm very optimistic about where we're heading. We don't want to see any great boom, but we want to see sustainable progress, and I really believe it's there. But and the thing is too, I think we've all got a responsibility to talk in the positive, not in a stupid way, but to be confident, because the next person we talk to, but then talk to somebody else in a confident way. I'm just sick and tired of people being in that doom and gloom. My God, look what's happening in Melbourne. Look what's happening in Sydney. We don't live in Melbourne. We don't live in Sydney. We live in Perth.
Yep.
Let's be confident about where we live. And confidence is such an important thing.
And it's an infectious thing as well, isn't it?
It is. And I just think we've all got to actually take that on board and go, no, we're marching forward. We're doing good things. And, we talk about the wave parks. We talk about the bridges in Coburn. We talk about all these different things.
Optus Stadium.
You look at, and you go, my God, just embrace it and just believe that we're moving forward. And
amen.
We will. Amen,
Preach,
brothers
Ross.
and sisters.
Here. What a way to end the show.
Yeah, brothers and sisters.
All right, that is it from us today. Another big thank you to the team at Domain Hire and Property Styling.
Thanks, guys.
Did you notice our coastal theme just for you?
Yeah.
The girls do a beautiful job.
Just see Hughes' house there.
Just there on the
That
point.
rock on the rock there.
So our next episode is going to be the very last of the year. We're doing a Christmas special. We have a Mandurah expert, Mandurah specialist coming on to tell us all about the market down there because, again, very different. Theo Alexandru, and I apologise if I've said his name wrong, from Harcourt's Mandurah is going to be coming on.
I think if Theo's coming, obviously he's Greek. I think he has to bring Greek food. Talking about bricker.
Big lamb
Don't you
shoulder.
reckon, mate?
Lamb
shoulder. Lamb shoulder, a
That.
bit of tzatziki, a bit of Dolomitas. Hey, like that.
Right.
You obviously been someone goes to Bricker once, they speak fluent Greek.
If you like the show, share it with your family and friends, and we will see you back here same time, same place, 2 weeks.
Thank you. Bye.